The Supreme Court wraps up 3 days of oral arguments on petitions against the Mindanao martial law and is expected to rule on the issue on July 5. The Department of Labor and Employment lifts the temporary suspension of deployment of overseas Filipino workers to Qatar. Malacanang assures there is nothing to worry about the health of President Rodrigo Duterte, saying the chief executive is just taking some well-deserved rest after a brutal schedule.
This is PTV News. Good evening. I'm Catherine Vital with Richmond Cruz. In the news tonight, another member of the Maute terrorist group has fallen into government hands. The suspect was identified as Muhammad Noem Maute, alias Abu Jadid, allegedly a bomber. He was arrested in Santa Cruz, Macasindig in Cagayan de Oro City by joint military and police personnel. Julius Isambron has more.
Muhammad Noem Maute alias Abu Hadid was arrested fast 5 this morning at Barangay Santa Cruz, Macasindig, Cagayan de Oro City. Brigadier General Gilbert Gapay, spokesperson of the Eastern Mindanao Command's martial law implementation, said Abu Hadid is one of the individuals included in the arrest order number 1 released by Defense Secretary Delfin Lorenzana. Noem is a suspected bomber of the Maute group. Abu Hadid, who is undergoing tactical interrogation for proper disposition and documentation, admitted being the one included in the local terrorist group gallery. He is also using a fake student identification of the Mindanao State University. It was also reported that Hadid is the youngest brother of Omar Kayam and Abdullah Maute, leaders of the Marawi siege. Their parents, Kayamora and Ominta Oromanto Farna Maute, were earlier captured by the government forces. Meanwhile, government military forces assured the safety of the public against bad elements. The AFP announces that their troops continue to have high moral and integrity. On the other hand, soldiers clarified reports regarding the mosque affected by the clashes.
We categorically state that we have not bombed and will not bomb mosques in Marawi. The Armed Forces of the Philippines leadership is firm in its commitment to use other options that would flush out the Maute ISIS group from these places of worship that they have converted into machine gun and sniper's nests, defensive positions, and arsenals of their war. The Armed Forces of the Philippines assures our Muslim brothers and Islamic faithfuls that it will not go down to the level of these terrorists who desecrate places of worship to lure the government security forces into responding to their violent extremism in similar manner.
Every displaced resident dreams of regaining Marawi City's peace and order and a return to normalcy through a rehabilitation.
I guess part of the President's or this administration's attempt to fully recover Marawi City from the hands of the local militant group is enough to win back the sympathy of the Maranao people. And number 2, the President already gave a marching order to our military and to the DPWH to allocate fundings for the immediate recovery of Lanao del Sur. Nobody actually expected this to happen, even the President himself. And so with this the degree of damage incurred against civilian, both the public and private infrastructures, have already been part of the discussion that we will undertake insofar as identifying the priorities that are needed to be rehabilitated.
The Provincial Crisis Management Committee added that relief goods and medical assistance are still given to the evacuees and affected families. For the Nation, Julius Desamboron, Marawi City.
To be sure, no parent trap was sprung for them in Marawi City. The parents of the Maute terrorists were both caught on different occasions in Davao City and at the outskirts of Lanao del Sur province, respectively. And one Mohamed Noem Maute, alias Abu Hadid, the clan Benjamin and adept bomb maker, was nabbed in Cagayan de Oro City posing as an evacuee. PTV's Eunice Amonte updates us on the latest on the family of terrorists who are still relevant and their whereabouts in this report.
Or the presence of Hapilon, which is always being continuously asked. According to our ground commanders, they believe he is still there.
The Armed Forces of the Philippines is confident that Abu Sayyaf leader and emir of ISIS in the Philippines, Isnilon Hapilon, is still in Marawi City, denying reports that the terrorist leader has escaped the battlefield. According to AFP spokesperson Brigadier General Restituto Padilla, they have been conducting intensified checkpoints to monitor the most wanted terrorist that could possibly escape Marawi City. In fact, the effectivity of these checkpoints were proven after the arrest of the parents of Omar and Abdullah Maute in two separate checkpoints in Davao and Lanao del Sur. Both of the parents are now in the custody of Bureau of Jail Management and Penology or BJMP, including the recently caught Omnita Maute, or otherwise known as Farhana Maute. According to Farhana, both of his sons Omar and Abdullah already died and were immediately buried as we speak. But according to the military,
totoo bang namatay si Omar, si Otto at saka si Maide? Ang aming pong nakuhang impormasyon ay naging isa sila sa mga nasawi doon sa mga nakaraang mga bakbakan at yung sa mga airstrikes na isinagawa. Pero aming sinasabi dito ay hindi kami makapagsabi na kumpirmado ito dahil wala kaming patibay. So hanggat walang katibayan at kaming nakukuha na nagpapatunay na sila nga ay namatay na sa mga enkwentro ng nakaraang mga araw, we cannot categorically say that they were among those killed.
Data of the AFP, Farhana serves as the financier of the terrorist group linking Maute brothers to different international terrorist groups related to ISIS. It can be recalled that Kaimora Maute, or the father of the terrorist, was also arrested in a checkpoint in Toril, Davao last June 6 and now in the custody of BJMP. The military also advised the Mindanaoan to always remain vigilant in their surroundings, especially that the members of this group are slowly blending with the evacuees. Meanwhile, other than the request for prayers for the troops, the AFP assured the public that there is nothing to worry about the attacks of these heartless terrorists, especially because there are only 4 remaining barangays to clear from the Maute group. For the Nation, Eunice Monte.
The government assures its swift response in addressing the needs of Filipinos displaced from their homes following the terrorist attacks by the Maute group in Marawi City. In a press briefing in Malacanang, NDRRMC Executive Director and Office of Civil Defense Chief Ricardo Halad confirmed that as of June 14, the number of internally displaced persons or IDPs from Lanao del Sur has reached 324,406 or 66,738 families. He said 5% of these are staying inside 79 evacuation centers in Lanao del Norte, Lanao del Sur, and Cagayan de Oro. The remaining 95% sought refuge with relatives and friends. Halad said his office has already directed the activation of a command and coordinating center in Iligan City to fast-track the government's efforts in responding to the immediate needs of the displaced families. To date, a total of 84 million pesos worth of assistance has already been provided by concerned government agencies.
It's deja vu all over again. This is at the heart of the petitioners' persistent bellyaching over President Rodrigo Duterte's placing the entire Mindanao under military rule. The ghosts and horrors of the past will reenact itself in some way, shape, or form in this current version of martial law, which the police or military will likely exploit and abuse. PTV's Joy Gumatay sums up the nation's chief attorney's counter-statements to allay the fears and apprehensions of the petitioners in this report.
There is really a tendency for martial law to affect fundamental freedoms, because inherently martial rule would have the potential to violate citizens' rights.
History repeats itself. This is the fear of attorney Marlon Manuel, one of the representatives of the petitioners group. He sees the alarming possibility of the return of massive human rights abuses, just like what happened during Marcos' martial law. And even though Proclamation 216 limits the scope of martial law within the borders of Mindanao, the legal advisor fears that it may soon expand to the Visayas and consequently to the whole of Luzon. But Solicitor General Jose Calida assures that such possibility should not be deemed alarming, as the President specifically ordered the military that warrantless arrest due to the suspension of the writ of habeas corpus may only be applied among perpetrators of actual rebellion. This means only the Maute rebels are in danger due to such military power, sparing the lives of innocent civilians in terror-inflicted areas. Furthermore, the chief executive also sought for the assistance of the Commission on Human Rights to make sure that the respect of citizens' rights will be of the prime consideration of armed men despite the ongoing encounters in Marawi City. Soljan Calida further explained that the intensified presence of the armed forces of the Philippines in Marawi City is not just for the mere purpose of armed resistance. More importantly, it is for the protection of the civilians victimized by the ongoing encounters, and finally for the restoration of peace and order in the heart of Moro land. Meanwhile, on the third and last day of the oral arguments, Chief Justice Maria Lourdes Sereno granted Soljan Calida's request to conduct a private briefing with the national security advisors instead of a public discussion.
There is, however, a rule that allows the court to exclude the public when, in the consideration of the court, information that will be disclosed may be prejudicial or detrimental.
Soljan Calida left the Supreme Court with a smile on his face, assuring the public that he could win the judgment of the justices over the case.
Hanggang doon na lang. But if you ask me if I'm confident, yes, the government is confident.
The High Court is expected to publicize its final decision on the matter on or before July 5, 2017. For The Nation, Joy Gumatay.
Yet another battalion, 350 strong, will officially be added to the rolls of the most hardcore and battle-tested warriors of the nation's armed forces with the graduation of this latest batch of rookies of the Marine Corps. And most, if not all, of them are excited and look forward to their first assignments on the battlefield in this report from Eunice Monte.
Despite the tension in Mindanao, Dindo flew all the way from Sarangani province to be at his son's most important day now that it is now an official member of the Philippine Marines.
Maligaya po sa mga bata. Kahit saan po, kasi Muslim din kami.
This is because today, 358 fresh graduates of the Philippine Marines received their certificates at the Marine Headquarters in Fort Bonifacio, Taguig City. One of these graduates' first honor is no other than the son of Dindo.
Masaya dugo at pawis ang pinuhunan namin dito Hirap kahit anong hirap ng training po, nilalabanan namin para lang makamit yung ano namin, lalo na ngayon nakuha kong rank 1.
80% of these fresh graduates will be deployed in Mindanao to strengthen the engaged battalion fighting for peace. Though the situation may not always be in favor of the troops in Mindanao, no fear or regret can be traced in the faces of these new graduates and even in their parents.
Ando naman yung takot, siyempre, una sa lahat, na doon tayo, hingi tayo ng guide sa taas para ligtas tayo.
According to the commander of the Philippine Marines, the 15 Marines killed in action in Marawi siege remain their inspiration in their everyday battle against the terrorist group of Maute. In fact, most of these graduates will now be assigned to Marawi area for the reinforcement of the engaged battalions.
May kanya-kanya silang assignment. Hahatiin natin itong 358 sa 12 battalions. So mga umaabot sa mga 20 to 30 new graduates, new Marines that will be deployed to each battalion.
Major General Salamat even added that these new recruits are one of the proofs that the Philippines will never run out of people willing to defend our country, no matter what and how much it would take in exchange for freedom and their sworn duty to our country. For The Nation, Eunice Monte.
The Department of Labor and Employment today lifted the deployment ban on overseas Filipino workers to Qatar upon the recommendation of the Philippine Overseas Labor Office, or POLO, in the host country. Labor Secretary Silvestro Belia III added that the decision was also reached upon consultation with the Department of Foreign Affairs. Here's Maute with added details.
Filipino workers may now be deployed to Qatar after the Department of Labor and Employment lifted the temporary deployment moratorium. Labor Secretary Silvestre Bello said the decision was arrived at on the advice of the Department of Foreign Affairs and the Philippine Overseas Labor Office in Qatar.
Pati na yung mga under process natin ko na rin upon recommendation of our labor attaché, okay mo with an assessment that the situation in Qatar is very normal. And this was joined by Department of Foreign Affairs, who in my consultation with the Secretary also affirm or agreed with the recommendation of our labor attaché, which prompted me to finally decide to lift the order of suspension of deployment of the W's to Qatar.
It can be recalled that Bello ordered the temporary suspension last week to secure the welfare of OFWs after some neighboring Arab states cut their diplomatic ties with Qatar. Meanwhile, Polo is continuously coordinating with the Qatari authorities to look into the welfare of household service workers of non-Qatari employers. These Filipino workers may be left in the country or may be forced to live with their employers.
The OFW household service worker has two options. One is to if he wants to, he can go with the non-Qatari national to where the non-Qatari employer would go, or he may opt to look for another job in Qatar, which is not a very hard thing to do.
The labor chief has earlier said that DOLE will deploy an assessment team to monitor the situation in Qatar. The assessment team is composed of representatives from DOLE, POEA, OWA, and the Undersecretary for Migrant Workers Affairs of DFA. For The Nation, Pauline Recuesto.
Malacanang assures there is nothing to worry about the health of President Rodrigo Duterte. This despite the president's being away from the public eye for the past several days. According to presidential spokesperson Ernesto Abella, the chief executive is just taking some well-deserved rest after a brutally hectic schedule. Abella said the president is in the palace where he has been resting for some time.
General sickness condition. I'm saying that there is nothing to worry about in terms of sickness, major sickness. But what I'm saying is that considering the schedule that he has given, he needs to rest. You do need to rest, don't you?
So, sir, just a categorical statement. Is the president exhausted? Is he resting from fatigue? Is that
tired? He's just tired. Just like I said, he has been on the road for about 23 days.
There are now 108 national government agencies on board the Electronic Freedom of Information or EFOI platform to provide the public easier access to government data. Presidential Communications Operations Office Assistant Secretary Christian Ablan announced this during the conference entitled #FOI No More, moving toward enhanced standard of transparency held in Quezon City. Ablan said the government is also on track with its target to include all offices covered by President Rodrigo Duterte's Executive Order No. 2 on FOI. More of this report from Trixie Jafar.
The Presidential Communications Operations Office, in joint effort with the Department of Information and Communications Technology, held an FOI conference with the theme FOI No More, moving towards enhanced standard transparency. It aims to deepen the engagements between government and reform partners on programs emphasizing transparency, citizen participation, and accountability. Executive Order No. 2 Series of 2016 mandates the full public disclosure of all offices under the executive branch.
Jointly organized by the Presidential Communications Operations Office, headed by Secretary Martin Andanar, and the Department of Information and Communications Technology, headed by Secretary Rodolfo Salalino.
I'd like to recognize the leadership of our Secretary Martin Andanar, who did not back down when the gigantic task to lead the implementation of the FOI program was assigned to him. Today, the fruits of this leadership are apparent. We will show you that we are on the right track. We engage, we are transparent, we are accountable.
Furthermore, FOI has helped many Filipinos since it was launched last November 2016. A plenary was also conducted during the Sun Conference, which tackled FOI's half-year implementation, redefining information management, and monitoring and evaluating transparency reforms.
The question, but how much have you given, not how much have you won. The question is not how much have you won, but how much have you done.
From the bottom of our heart, thank you very much for being there in implementing the Freedom of Information program of President Duterte.
Meanwhile, they encouraged the public to visit www.foi.gov.ph for more details regarding the Freedom of Information program. For The Nation, Trixie Jaafar.
For our business news, the Department of Trade and Industry is eyeing the extension of a price freeze in Mindanao. Trade and Industry Secretary Ramon Lopez spoke of such possibility even as he assured that prices of basic commodities remain stable in the region. Let's hear the details of this report from Diane Carrera.
With the conducted monitoring of the Department of Trade and Industry, prices of basic commodities remain stable in Mindanao, and that supply has been normal in the region.
We've confirmed and visited also depots, warehouses, up to the retail end, both wholesalers, supermarkets, and the retailers sa palengke. And the prices po have been stable before martial law and now under martial law.
DTI says that the good news is that prices of some commodities decreased, like a kilo of sugar now priced at 53 pesos, previously priced at 56 pesos. The agency, however, noticed that the prices of imported garlic in certain markets have increased, and this will be investigated by the agency.
Yung sa garlic, in all areas, stable. But in the area reported here sa Davao, tumaas from 160 to 300 per kilo. Apparently, it's not in all Davao also, kaya nga very queer. It's only in two areas, two markets.
Meanwhile, in order to avoid any shortage, DTI makes sure that there is a good situation of supply in areas where residents went to after evacuating from Marawi.
DTI reminds consumers and retailers that price freeze in Mindanao remains while martial law is still in place. If the time comes that martial law be suspended, the agency is yet to study whether to extend the price freeze while the residents affected by the Marawi siege recover. For The Nation, Diane Carrera.
It is the holy grain of the Filipino food table. The chief ingredient Filipinos cannot live without, much like pita bread is to the Arabs and tortillas are to the Latinos. It is said that in Filipino culture, it is rice that primarily nourishes us and that all other dishes we take with it are just for taste. Chuck it out of the diet picture and you'll have on your hands a nation gone berserk. Much like what a lady senator found out when she suggested taking the unlimited rice freebie out of the menu of restaurants in this report from Sweden Velado.
Rice is life for many Filipinos. It is considered a staple food in almost all Filipino households. But Senator Cynthia Villar recently suggested banning of unlimited or only rice. This has earned various reactions from local consumers.
Okay na sa akin. Yung ba kasi nasayang lang yung mga rice order ng order tapos di naubos.
Bakit naman kailangan ipagbawal yung only rice? Malaking bagay ngayon sa mga taong Pilipino. Kasi unang-una mas makakatipid yung mga customer.
Nasa tao naman yan Kung o-order ka lang nung ubusin mo, para hindi masayang.
According to the senator who also chairs the Senate Committee on Agriculture and Food, she's only after the welfare and health of Filipinos.
Bawal na natin yung unlimited rice. Kasi nakakasakit tayo gawa ng unlimited rice na yan. We should learn how to eat vegetables.
Records of the Department of Health show that in the last 3 decades, diabetes is not on the list of the top 10 leading causes of mortality in the country. But since 2010, it has maintained a spot on the list. A nutritionist explained one of the reasons identified is Filipinos consuming too much white rice.
Sa isang food. So yung rice kasi, considered siya as high glycemic index. Kasi para ma-consider ang isang food na high in glycemic index, kailangan mag-i-exceed siya ng 55. Pero ang white rice kasi, nagre-range yung glycemic index niya ng 100 to 120.
Based on the data of the Philippine Rice Research Institute, or PhilRice, each Filipino wastes an average of 2 tablespoons of cooked rice daily. That is 12% of the country's annual rice import, which cost 7.2 billion pesos. That could feed 2.5 million starving Filipinos a year. Again, another reason pointed out is unlimited rice. But this is what a restaurant owner which offers only rice promo has to say.
The only rice is the selling point of our restaurant, and so with other restaurants who employs the same I would say strategy. Yung ating measuring cup either has various sizes, or we
always utterly ask the customer if it's a full size, a full cup, 1/2 cup, or even a 1/4 cup.
Senator Villar clarified, however, she does not plan to propose a law banning only rice. She only voiced out her concern that eating too much rice is one of the main causes of high blood sugar that leads to diabetes. For The Nation, Sweden Velado.
The Philippine Stock Exchange Index ended at 7,964.49 points, down 0.02% or 1.52 points due to profit-taking. Most of the indices track the PSEI, with all shares contracting 0.03% or 1.49 points to 4,727.56 points. Mining and oil led the decliners with 0.76% drop, followed by financials by 0.66% and holding firms by 0.006%. On the other hand, industrial, property and services went up by 0.31% and 0.28% and 0.11% respectively. Volume for the day reached 1.56 billion shares, amounting to 8.05 billion pesos. Losers led gainers at 96 to 90, while 58 stocks were unchanged.
PTV Info Weather, and for tonight's latest, the Weather Bureau clarifies we are not monitoring any circulation or weather disturbance within the country's area of responsibility. Now, the HPA will bring hotter and drier weather conditions over Luzon as well as Visayas during the day, while the cloud cluster over Mindanao is the ITCZ, or wind convergence, which is expected to bring heavy rains and isolated thunderstorms in Mindanao until this coming weekend. Now, looking at a rain satellite, moderate isolated showers concentrated over portions of Mindanao, that is Zamboanga Peninsula, and sections of Central Mindanao, ARMM and Cagayan, and sections of Bicol region. And for those residents living in near waterways and river channels, stay alert, and as well as those of you living in low-lying areas. As for the rest of the country, based on our forecast map tomorrow, cloudy skies with light to moderate rains and isolated thunderstorms will be experienced over central Visayas, Negros Islands, and later provinces, as well as here in Palawan. Now, partly cloudy skies with isolated showers or thunderstorms will prevail over Metro Manila and the rest of the country. As for our brothers in Mindanao, we are looking at possible light rain showers over Zamboanga Peninsula, Caraga region, all the way down to Davao region, as well as Cagayan, while drier weather is up for northern Mindanao and ARMM. Meanwhile, let's head on to our Metro City's forecast for tomorrow. Metro Manila will have higher chance of rain showers with thunderstorms tomorrow, and as well as Metro Davao due to the ITCZ, while Metro Cebu will enjoy good sunny weather tomorrow, Friday. As for those of you planning your weekend ahead, let's take a quick look of our weekend weather forecast. And that's the latest for now, only here on PTV Info Weather. For The Nation, Ice Martinez.
PTV News returns with more significant news developments here at home after some important messages. Stay with us.
Do not be fooled by fake numbers. Know the real numbers. From July 1, 2016 to June 6, 2017, the Duterte administration has successfully conducted more than 61,000 anti-drug operations, arrested more than 82,000 drug personalities, assisted more than 1.3 million drug surrenders, and neutralized more than 3,000 drug personalities.
President Rodrigo Roa Duterte is in Russia for an official visit. He declared martial law in Mindanao on May 23. A series of attacks from terrorists and extremists occurred in the island. The areas of Basilan, Sulu, and Tawi-Tawi are included in the declaration. To find out the situation in Mindanao, the president has cut short his visit in Russia.
That as of 10 p.m. Manila time, he has already declared martial law for the entire island of Mindanao.
After martial law has been declared, within 48 hours, the president needs to submit a report in Congress, either personal or written. It is stated in our Constitution that martial law and the suspension of writ of habeas corpus is effective only within 60 days. The extension is up to the Congress decision. Martial law can be negated by the majority of votes in Congress. The Supreme Court can also question and decide on the declaration of martial law within 30 days. President Duterte's declaration of martial law in Mindanao aims to protect the residents who are being ruthlessly killed by local terrorists. The proclamation of martial law in Mindanao also aims to eliminate the fear of the Filipinos that the chaos in Mindanao is spreading throughout the country.
GSIS benefits and programs pag-uusapan natin sa GSIS Members Hour.
Sa pag-asenso, dapat magnegosyo.
Kung paano ihahatid namin sa inyo sa loob ng 30 minuto.
Sa pinakabagong business show on Philippine television, ang Nego Show.
To the Filipino people, I said I made promises. Ginagawa ko.
I cannot do it alone.
Government runs on taxes. Yan ang gasolina ng gobyerno. Without taxes, cannot do anything. Nakiusap na ako sa congressman. By and large, pati yung individual, suportahan ninyo kasi if people would realize that the money would be put into good use and really spent for the purpose for which is being envisioned to be collected, there has to be change.
Malacanang downplayed a recent report which listed the Philippines as the 11th most dangerous country for tourists. Presidential spokesperson Ernesto Abella pointed out the increasing number of tourist arrivals in the country. The 2017 Travel and Tourism Competitiveness Report of the World Economic Forum, released last April 5th, ranked the Philippines at 126th spot among 136 countries in ensuring the safety of tourists. However, in spite of the low score in insecurity and safety, the Philippines is still on the 79th spot in the overall travel and tourism rankings. Secretary Abella said latest data from the Department of Tourism confirms that tourist arrivals have increased in the first quarter of 2017 as compared to the same period last year.
After receiving so much undue flack in the real and virtual world, tourism officials have decided to pull the plug on a much ballyhooed TV ad dubbed Sites, with a commercial dangerously infringing on copyrights of a similar South African TV commercial produced in 2014. The option going forward, the Tourism Department has opted to take plus their strict instruction on originality in concept expressly communicated to McCann Erickson in this report from Diane Carrere.
The Department of Tourism has decided to discontinue its partnership with McCann Worldwide Group Philippines.
This was the decision of the Department of Tourism with regard to the recently launched tourism ad Sites, which previously faced plagiarism accusations. In the midst of the controversy, DOT expects a public apology from McCann over the negative feedback that the department has been receiving, owing to the glaring similarities between McCann's Sites and South Africa's ad released 2014.
During the early stage po ng bidding, a condition set by DOT for the bidders is that to come up with the campaign, whoever wins, na dapat original, hindi tayo nanggaya.
Meanwhile, DOT will reopen the procurement process for the production of a new advertising material, which will be consistent with the current slogan, "It's more fun in the Philippines."
We were also instructed by Secretary Wanda Tulfo-Teo that she would like now each material to be done by one. We don't want anymore to do several assigned to one. So it's going to be one agency per material.
The agency commits that the process for the launch of future TVCs and films will be more inclusive among various stakeholders. For The Nation, Diane Querer.
The Department of Foreign Affairs said several Filipinos were taken to hospital after they were injured in a fire that hit a housing block in West London. The DFA also assured that the embassy is closely monitoring the situation there. DFA spokesperson Robespierre Bolivar did not give the exact number of Filipinos who were among those hurt in the massive fire that engulfed the 24-story Grenfell Tower early Wednesday. More details from Sweden, Velado.
The palace stressed that they are closely monitoring the situation of Filipinos affected by that hellish blaze that absolutely gutted an apartment tower in London.
The Department of Foreign Affairs, through the Philippine Embassy in London, has confirmed that some Filipinos are among those injured by the fire at Grenfell Tower. The embassy is closely monitoring the situation and is ready to provide assistance to all Filipino fire victims. We condole with those who have lost families and friends in the Grenfell fire, and we take special note of the special needs of Filipinos who also were affected by the conflagration.
The Department of Foreign Affairs emphasized they are ready to provide assistance to all Filipino fire victims. In the official Facebook page of the Philippine Embassy in the United Kingdom, they are seeking help or any information over the whereabouts of a certain Ligaya Moore, a resident of Grenfell Tower. Any details may be relayed to the numbers 447-802, 790-695 or via email through embassy@philemb.co.uk. The news has reached Senator Joel Villanueva, who said Moore is a member of their religious organization, Jesus is Lord, or JIL.
We're looking for her, si Nanay Ligaya Moore. Nandun siya nakatira. I don't know how old she is, pero most likely more than 60 years of age.
Last Wednesday, huge fire engulfed the 24-story Grenfell Tower. The London authorities are still investigating on the tragedy to determine the real cause of fire. For The Nation, Sweden, Velado.
Do you have a great idea or story in what it takes to write, produce, act, and or direct it into a short feature of 8 to 10 minutes thereabouts? If so, then tarry no more. Shoot it in film or video using professional gear or even consumer gadgets and get it in the can before the 20th of June. The complete particulars of this contest, dubbed Short and Sweet Film Fest, in this report from Ria Fernandez.
Do you want to become a famous filmmaker or writer or actor? Join the Short and Sweet Film Festival. Submit your entry to Short and Sweet website until June 20. Any concept is accepted, taken using whatever device you wish, but the length of the video must only be between 5 to 10 minutes and the message you want to convey must be clear. Judges range from veteran directors to film enthusiasts. Although there's no cash prize, contestants who will bag the best film and People's Choice Awards will be sent to Hollywood and have a chance to receive a $50,000 grant from Ride Studios in LA to fund their next project.
So we're inviting all the creative Filipinos out there, filmmakers or not, to create a short film, 10 minutes or less, with your cell phone, with your professional cameras. And with that, please join and submit your films to Short and Sweet Film Manila. Our deadline is on June 20. Check our website.
This is the first Short and Sweet Film Festival in the Philippines. The said film fest is also held in Australia, India, and US. Short and Sweet, created by Australian Mark Cleary in 2002, was originally for theater.
We are really here to support an Australian concept and an Australian sort of cultural export, if you like.
It would sure be nice to be back home where there's love and...
For The Nation, Ria Fernandez.
For our foreign page, the U.S. House of Representatives united in sadness Thursday, vowing to set aside political differences after a group of Republican congressmen and staffers were shot at a baseball practice. The news that third-ranking Republican leader Steve Scalise was one of the wounded paused the usually contentious Washington political debate. VOA's congressional reporter Catherine Gibson has more on how Capitol Hill will move forward.
A House united. Democrats stood alongside Republicans still reeling from a horrifying attack.
We are one house, the People's House, united in our humanity. It is that humanity which will win the day.
A day that began with Representative Scalise shot at, along with 2 congressional staffers and 2 Capitol Police. Their presence preventing a tragedy of a larger scale, said Representative Joe Barton as he left the field, now turned crime scene.
Capitol Hill Police Security Detail saved our lives.
Republicans practicing for the congressional baseball charity game with the apparent target, said one congressman who believes he spoke with the gunman just before the shooting.
I did have an interaction with someone in the parking lot who asked me if the team practicing was a Democrat or Republican team. I told him they were Republicans. He said, "Okay, thanks."
Still dirty and bloody from diving for cover, Representative Chuck Fleischman said he had heard multiple rounds of gunshots.
It was very loud. I noticed there was blood on the floor of the dugout. People were bleeding. Some people were hit. Thank God he just decided not to shoot me. I just guess I was just lucky.
Representative Costello was even luckier. He missed his ride to the practice by just a couple of minutes.
It's an ugly jolt. We're all here to work hard. We're all here to get things done, Republicans and Democrats, even if we disagree. And you have to take those opportunities to try and shift it towards more civility.
And after the House had gathered for prayer and reflection, many members promised the shooting would not stop their work.
We should stay engaged and be fully engaged and keep living the American life, because otherwise, others get to win, and that's not what America's about.
A promise Congress will keep when it returns to work first thing Thursday.
For our sports tonight, Chooks Pilipinas 3x3 team is up for the challenge as Kobe Paras, Kiefer Ravena, Jeron Tang, and J.R. Quinahan head for Nantes, tomorrow morning, where they will first contend with Romania on Sunday at the 2017 FIBA 3x3 World Cup. At the official send-off held in Pasig City, the members of the country's squad assured that their main goal is to bring home the World Cup ring for the Filipino nation. Despite the height disadvantage, Coach Eric Altamirano hopes that the Philippine team will make it through outside shooting and determination in the court to prevail over Romania, Slovenia, El Salvador, and host France, which fall in the same group as that of the Philippines in Pool B.
Capitalize on our strength, which is yung speed natin, our outside shooting, and then yung smartness natin sa laro. Ano, alam naman natin to sila Jeron, sila Kiefer, ang basketball IQ nito matataas.
We have the strongest chance to earn a medal dito sa 3-on-3 kaysa yung 5-on-5 natin. 5-on-5 is a long shot, but 3-on-3 parang abot kamay na natin eh.
Australian boxer Jeff Horn has tapped a Filipino boxer to serve as his sparring partner as he prepares for his upcoming fight against Manny Pacquiao. Australia-based Boholano Shar Amonsot worked for 2 weeks with Horn, who will be attempting to unseat the Pac-Man as the world welterweight kingpin. The details from Dennis Principe.
Filipino boxing icon Manny Pacquiao is going to have a tough night against Australian challenger Jeff Horn. This is the assessment of Australia-based Filipino boxer Zara Monsot, who said that Horn packs power in both hands, apart from being in great physical shape. Horn tapped Monsot as one of his sparring partners, owing to the Filipino boxer's southpaw stance.
Dalawang kamay niya malakas, din yung kondisyon niya mas maganda rin. Malakas na bata din. So magandang laban.
Meantime, Monsot assured he only served as sparmate and that he won't be a part of Horn when it comes to mapping out their fight plan against Pacquiao.
Hindi naman, wala lang yung trabaho. Dating ko sa gym lang kami magkikita, practice.
Sparring.
Kaya uwi naman ako sa bahay.
Walang mga tip na hinihingi sa'yo na kung saan malakas si Manny, gano'n?
Hindi naman sila ganyan.
Pacquiao will stake his WBO welterweight crown against Horn on July 2 at the Suncor Stadium in Brisbane, Australia. For The Nation, Dennis Principe.
The Most Valuable Player MVP Award is a prestigious recognition bestowed by the NBA every year to a player who displays unmatched competence and great performance during the regular season. This was first given in the 1955 to 1956 season through votation of players. By the year 1980 to 1981 season, the said award started to be decided on by chosen sports writers and broadcasters from all over the United States and Canada. Golden State Warriors guard Stephen Curry holds the current award after he was recognized as the very first unanimous MVP of the 2016 regular season. He is also the 11th Cager to receive back-to-back MVP awards.
In the headlines, the government forces arrest another member of the Maute terrorist group identified as Mohamed Noem Maute, alias Abu Hadid, allegedly a bomber. The Supreme Court wraps up 3 days of oral arguments on petitions against the Mindanao martial law and is expected to rule on the issue on July 5. The Department of Labor and Employment lifts the temporary suspension of deployment of overseas Filipino workers to Qatar. Malacanang assures there is nothing to worry about the health of President Rodrigo Duterte, saying the chief executive is just taking some well-deserved rest after a brutal schedule.
And those were today's headline stories on PTV News. I'm Catherine Vidal with Richmond Cruz. Thank you and good evening.
Do not be fooled by fake numbers. Know the real numbers. From July 1, 2016 to June 6, 2017, a total of 280 government workers were arrested in the anti-drug operations of the Duterte administration. 138 were government employees. 119 were elected officials, while the rest were uniformed personnel.